Hi everyone, I have another amazing book to review with you all today. My name is Ryan Zurin and this is my book review channel, Razor Reviews. Today we have Deep Learning with TensorFlow and Keras. This is the third edition, the most recent one, and it is written by Amita Kapoor, Antonio Gulli, and Sujit Pal. If I pronounced those right, it is published, of course, by Pact Publishing, one of my favorite book publishers for programming and technical books. If you're into those subjects, definitely check out Pact Publishing. This is a hefty book. It's weighing in at over 600 pages, and it's for anyone interested in deep learning, from the complete beginner to the seasoned professional. So if you're someone with a lot of experience already, then the very beginning, you can definitely skip over that, as it's just an introduction to deep learning and using TensorFlow and Keras. This is great information for beginners, of course, to have, and there's some wonderful examples that gently walk you right through setting up and using these libraries for the very first time. As usual, all the code from the book, along with color pictures, are all available online at the link that's provided in the introduction. After a nice introduction, we get into regression and classification, which are two of the main categories used in machine learning. Regression helps with prediction of continuous quantities, while classification is for finding decision boundaries in classes. So there's wonderful examples of these differences in the chapter, and it also gets you working with one of the most well-known machine learning data sets, the MNIST data set, so you get some practice with using real data. Now with the basics down, we turn up the heat a bit and start getting into some of the more well-known and powerful deep learning modules. Before that, I want to just add real quick that every chapter in this book is filled with examples of code that show you step by step how to implement everything that is discussed. It's not just a theory book. This is a hands-on and put these ideas into practice book. So I highly recommend anyone new to the field to go right from the beginning and follow along with these examples, as this is probably one of the best ways to start getting familiar with these libraries and their APIs. It can be a little bit, they're simple once you start using them, but if you're never used them before, they could seem a little daunting. So definitely warm up and follow along. It's a great book to do that with. We get walk through setting up, right off the beginning, we get walked through setting up like a deep convolutional neural network, or DCNN, where we get to build a model for image recognition for a cat. We're going to recognize cats in the example we follow along to here. It also gives references to some information on some other more popular CNN architectures, such as residual networks, AlexNet, exception, and many more. So that's always nice. There's chapters dedicated to recurrent neural networks, RNNs, transformers, autoencoders, generative models like generative adversarial networks, or GANs, which are very popular and used in a lot of the AI art applications you see lately. As well, we get full chapters dedicated to things such as unsupervised learning, self-supervised learning, reinforcement learning, and more. So this book really covers all the bases and is a treasure trove of knowledge on the topics. In addition to all this, there's an introduction to AutoML, which is very interesting and powerful stuff. Because when you're dealing with massive data sets, the last thing you want to be doing is going over the data all manually. That's very tedious and very time consuming. So here we begin to learn about some tools we could use to start automating stuff, such as data preparation and feature engineering, pulling out the features that are most important. All that stuff is time consuming. So if there's a way to automate it, that is powerful, and that's what that chapter is about. And for all the math nerds out there, myself included, there's no lack of mathematical proofs. Actually, there's a whole chapter dedicated to the math of machine learning, and I like that it's in its own chapter, because if you're not into the math, you don't have to read that chapter, and you're not going to miss out on much. You're just going to miss out on the math, which to some of us is important, to some others is not so important. This book is by far one of the most recent ones I've read. It's cutting edge. It's definitely, the examples are using the two libraries, the most recent APIs of these two libraries. So basically, you're not going to have to worry about the code not working. I've read some older books where I try to follow along and the code doesn't work. That's not going to be the case with this book. This book also gets into things talking about Google Tensor Processing Unit, or TPUs as it's commonly known. As well, it gives information and additional resources on other great machine learning libraries that are commonly used, and some great tools that can be used on all kinds of projects, big and small alike. So if you got a project in your mind, and one of these libraries isn't sufficient, there's some additional information in here about other libraries as well. The final few chapters cover topics such as like machine learning best practices. It also gets into the scoop of like TensorFlow ecosystem, which is extremely robust. Cover many different topics, and there's like a TensorFlow for everything. There's like TF Lite if you want to go lightweight. There's TF.js for JavaScript, so all the web developers, if you need to have a framework for using machine learning on a web platform. There's a TF Hub where you can get all these pre-trained models, and there's so much. So it gets really into all that. So that's nice. We get a final chapter to cap it all off dedicated to advanced CNNs. So that's for anyone wishing to really go a bit deeper on the subject. It's a nice deep dive into a complex and more advanced topic. So in all, this book is really up to date. It covers the most popular machine learning frameworks available. Deep Learning with TensorFlow and Keras. Yeah, it's 3rd edition. It's definitely by far one of the easiest to read books I have found on the complex subject, which makes this book perfect, like I said, for beginners and professionals alike. So if you're planning to get into deep learning, or if you're already using it, I highly recommend you add this book to your library. You will not be disappointed. No, you will not. The only thing I found not great was having no color images, because this book has got a lot of graphs and a lot of charts to help you understand what's going on. It would have been nice to kind of have the color images in the book and not have to go to a website to see all the good quality images. But, I mean, that's trivial, and the wisdom you will gain from reading this book by far makes up for its lack of color images. Definitely. So, yeah. Deep Learning with TensorFlow and Keras, 3rd edition. Thanks for joining me in another wonderful review. Be sure to like and subscribe to get updates whenever I add new reviews, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.